Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you had a feedback talk that actually felt good? One that's not stressful, not even defensive, just genuinely useful. You walk into feedback talks not knowing what to expect, and that's why you always have your guard up, always trying to be defensive. And then you end up walking out not knowing, even more confused, and even worse, wanting to quit your job. But what if feedback talk didn't have to be that confusing, that complicated, or even that agitating, or didn't have to make that uncomfortable feeling? What if feedback talks didn't have that criticism feeling around it, What if we changed the name? What if it had a completely different idea or feeling that it would invoke? For example, what if it was a clear data-driven roadmap discussion for growth? In case you didn't know, my name is Chona C, and I help many aspiring entrepreneurs build business plans. But I also know what it's like to be lost. I was once a student as well, and I didn't know where to go and what to do after graduation. And I had so many ideas, but I just didn't know what to do with them. That's why I'm passionate about the tools that I talk about, because they help turn confusion into clarity, helping you guys find real-world opportunities. I want to start this video off by talking about why feedbacks usually go wrong. Here's the truth. Feedback is extremely fundamental for growth, but it usually goes wrong because there is just lack of context and lack of clarity. Sometimes the information shared is just way too vague. Thank you for being here for this feedback. What I want you to know is that you need to learn how to communicate better. Right, but how? And sometimes these talks become personal. You end up forgetting about the actual work and you end up just judging each other. Or you flip it the other way. You still forget about the work, but then you overcomplicate a situation. And sometimes it's just one-sided. You're told where you fall short, but you're not left with a plan on how to develop. But hey, you can't blame anyone because maybe they also don't know how you can develop. They just know what the problem is, but you're both stuck in this limbo. And that's why feedback can feel less like a growth opportunity and more like a performance review where you just have to cross your fingers and hope that you did your best and they like you. Now, I mentioned how feedback talks should invoke another feeling. A feeling of it's time to grow or let's make a plan, right? This is where we enter the appraisal test. The appraisal test on SMRTbio changes the game. If you're someone who's looking for the most non-biased and data-driven way of having feedback talks, then this is something that you should definitely look into. So instead of one person telling the other person what to do, obviously that still can be possible, but we're trying to remove this opinion-based feedback out of the equation, right? We want both parties to bring input to the table, and that stops becoming feedback and it becomes more conversational. At the top of the page, you will see 3 different career levels: junior, meteor, and senior level. As you further go down, you're gonna see different symbols. The star symbol is the norm. The norm is the average competency level that you should have attained. The green icon is the person that is being reviewed. The blue icon is either the employer, the project leader, or the person that is reviewing the other person as well. Now, you can flip through these 3 different career levels just to get a better understanding of where you can position yourself. The results are shown in a simple color code. Green, you're on track. No stress, keep doing what you're doing. Great, something to talk about, but not really that urgent, but very good to keep in mind. Now, the red and the orange section, this is a clear gap. This is where development is needed. This is where you and your project leader think that you're below the norm of what you should actually be. And the cool thing about this test, or let me say the results, is that it takes away this conversation of, hey, I don't think you're good at this, or hey, last time you were not really doing well with a specific task. No, it zooms in on a specific skill where you both say, hey, I think there's something wrong here. Let's talk about how we can fix this. Let's talk about this particular skill that we both think is not, your strength. What can we do about it, right? And it doesn't stop there. The test, or let me say the platform, allows you to really zone in on that skill, take a course to develop that exact same skill that you both think, hey, we need to work on this, right? Ideally, you can click on any skill and further develop it, but it's always more advisable to look at the sections that are highlighted in red or orange and work on that one. Essentially, now we're taking this whole thing that would start off as criticism and lead to confusion to something that started as conversation and leading to action. So how it does it is that those yellow MBA caps would lead you directly to the courses that you need to take in order to develop the skills that you lack in, right? So instead of leaving the room with, this confusion like, wow, now I know that I'm bad at this specific skill, you end up leaving differently. You leave empowered because not only do you feel like you had a very heartfelt conversation or a very non-biased, opinionated conversation, but you leave with clarity on what the problem is, a shared understanding with your project partner, your employer, or whoever, and a plan on how to develop or how to get better, leaving both of you happy and satisfied knowing that better is coming. And that's the difference between feedback that helps and feedback that hurts. I want you to know the real benefits of this appraisal test, right? It's no longer about blame, it's about growth. It's no longer about being defensive, it's about shared data, shared conversation. And it's no longer vague anymore. It's about having clarity on what to do next. Whether you are an employee who wants to grow and you want clarity so you know how to grow in your field or in your career, or you're just an employer who wants to guide their team into the perfect direction that the team can be. This ultimately becomes not a threat anymore. It becomes the tool to success for team building, growth, and serenity. Now, after hearing all of this, I don't want you to just go and feel like this is something that should be implemented, because it already is, right? So after hearing all of this, I want you to, the next time you go into a feedback talk, or in fact, don't even wait for a feedback talk to happen. Register right now on SMRT.bio. It's completely free for everyone to use and available on all platforms. Register on it and send someone an invitation to do an appraisal test for maybe a potential job position that you would like, or a career that you think you would excel in, right? It's free and it doesn't cost anything, and just a click of a few buttons, send an email, and they will get the request to do an appraisal as well. Try it out for yourself and have meaningful conversations. Have conversations with data instead of conversations of opinion and criticism. What is it exactly that I want you to know after watching this video? Feedback talks should not be something that involves people pointing fingers, pointing out people's flaws and making them feel bad about it so that you feel more superior, if that's what happens sometimes. Feedback talks should be something that helps teams thrive. It should help not only a team, but the whole business as a unit thrive together, right? This should be something that should take away a lot of the problems that companies will face, because it's inevitable that companies face roadblocks. But conversations within your team should not be an uncomfortable and a bad thing to do. It needs to be something people should be excited about and give more clarity and ultimately work together in a harmonic environment. Now, what is it exactly that I want you to feel? I want you to feel confidence, not anxiety. I want you to walk into a feedback session knowing that you're not going to be judged, but you're ready to have a real conversation about growth. And it's not about someone's opinion that they're giving you, it's about shared data that you both contributed to and that you're both going to make a plan about, right? And when you have that aha moment, I want you to thank yourself for being able to take this test with confidence, being honest to yourself, and knowing that this is the step that you need to take, not only just for yourself, but for the entire ecosystem of the company. So if you're tired of feedback that leads to anxiety, confusion, less clarity, anger, maybe even sometimes, then I want you to start using the appraisal test. I want you to feel more confident to go into a space where you know that the difference that's going to be made is not just for yourself and your career, because you're ultimately shaping yourself into the right direction, but you're going to be creating a more peaceful environment in a place that you're happy to work in. Take the appraisal test, do the strength test and the passion test so that you have a complete package of where you're going. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.